Captain Marvel is a new Marvel movie starring Brie Larson, Sam Jackson, Jude Law, and a cat named Goose. The story of Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. When we meet our hero Carol Danvers, she's living on planet Hala as part of an elite group of Kree warriors. The Kree are at war with a shape-shifting alien race known as the Skrulls. Carol can't remember her past, but while on a mission, something happens to her that unlocks memories of her past life. Now caught in the middle of a galactic war, she discovers her true self. The opening logo to this movie was dedicated to Stan Lee, and I thought that was a very nice touch. And I can't wait to see Kevin Smith's reaction when he sees Stan's cameo in this one. 2 words, mall rats. The cast of this movie is pretty impressive. Brie Larson is an excellent choice for Captain Marvel, and she puts a lot of charm into her character. Her arc was pretty simple though. It's more or less her discovering her past and her powers, but I didn't think she had a lot of personality. She's very tough and definitely someone who doesn't give up, you know, the typical hero thing. But because she doesn't know who she is, there isn't much to latch onto. The supporting cast is great as well, and Sam Jackson is fun as always and has never looked better thanks to that Marvel voodoo. It's no secret that I'm a big Marvel fan, and I really like this film, but I didn't love it, even with an awesome cat like Goose. Captain Marvel does a lot of things right. It has an unpredictable story, a few plot twists, and it has that Marvel comedy that doesn't feel forced or awkward. There were some really funny scenes involving computers from the 90s. If you're old enough to remember, that shit is hilarious. And because this movie takes place during that period of time, the soundtrack also kicks ass. I will say some parts of the film were shot very dark, and wearing 3D glasses didn't really help. You're basically wearing sunglasses, and I don't think Captain Marvel was made with 3D in mind. Directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who prior to this movie only made smaller films, did a good job, but you can tell they have a lack of experience when it comes to big budget blockbusters. Nevertheless, the action scenes were great, and overall it's a really fun Marvel movie, especially the third act is very cool when we finally get to see Captain Marvel's full power. But the script does have a few flaws. The stakes aren't as high as in other Marvel movies, and that has mainly to do with what we know about the future. And that's sort of the problem with prequels, I guess. We already know how things will turn out, so that takes away some of the tension. Also, knowing what's gonna happen in the future, for me anyways, was somewhat of a distraction. By now the expectations for Avengers 4 are monumental, so while I was watching this film, in the back of my mind I kept thinking Endgame. The movie does explain a few things, like why the Avengers are called the Avengers, and how Nick Fury lost his eye, which was a little underwhelming, but Marvel still doesn't reveal much regarding Endgame, so don't expect a lot of information about that. I also really like the mystery around Carol's past, and finding out about her past life is part of the fun. But this film had a lot of screenwriters, and that usually worries me. And if I'm being honest, there were some elements in the script that seemed to be coming out of nowhere. It felt a little unbalanced, like every writer wanted to have their say. But ultimately, this movie is exactly what it needs to be. It's an introduction to Captain Marvel that sets up things for the next Avengers film. The introduction to the Skrulls is also kind of a big deal because of their ability to shapeshift. Or is it shift shape? They can change into other people. Am I right, Ben?
Space pigs, you know what I mean? Like tough, big sort of, big tough Skrulls.
Let's talk about the end credits. These are spoilers, so skip to this time code if you don't want to hear it. Here we go, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. In the first end credit scene, we finally get our much needed endgame fix. We see the remaining Avengers basically pressing redial on Fury's pager. Then Cap Marvel suddenly shows up asking, "Where's Fury?" And what's interesting is that she hasn't aged at all. The second one is a funny scene with Goose the cat, but I'm not gonna spoil that one. So I really like Captain Marvel. It's a fun, entertaining story with a lot of good action. It wasn't predictable or pandering, but it doesn't have an amazing script. Story-wise, it's about on par with the first Thor movie, but it's a nice little precursor to things we know about the MCU, and it plants a couple of seeds for future movies, and that's one of the things Marvel does best. Captain Marvel is a golden nugget. If you're in a movie theater and you're one of these people, first of all, go fuck yourself. And second, if you're hungry because you haven't eaten anything before seeing the movie, that's your problem. Don't make it everybody else's, you selfish motherfucker.